lead us and shed some more light into the coalition, who is also a life coach. She's a public background into this session of today, which is party, including parties like ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria, Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, ABGA, yes, and even some fraction of PDP. They all came together. To them, it was more of a strategic discipline, a collective sacrifice to them, and a desire to end 16-year rule. Tinubu then, General Muhammadu Buhari, late General Buhari, and significant, notable Nigerian politicians who came together then. But today, in 2025, we are now talking about a coalition or convenience. I would not really like to dive into this conversation too much, but I will actually, you know, go into this conversation and actually dissect it professionally. Before I do that, I would like to hand the mic over to our host for today, Ambassador Aju, elected just the way it is. Thank you very much. At this moment, I would like to yield the mic to Ambassador Aju Elumelu to actually do the introduction of our special guest for today. Thank you very much. I yield the mic to you. Ambassador Aju, are you with us? Thank you very much. You can unmute your mic and speak just in case because I can see your mic is still muted.
Yeah, opportunist. Now this is Professor Okay Ikechukwu recognition to practice in over 50 countries. He is a management sciences. He holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy, came out as the best graduate in student metaphysics without first obtaining a master's degree. That is huge. He demonstrates remarkable mastery across several disciplines and has taught cybersecurity and computing at a Nigerian Defense Academy. He speaks and writes authoritatively on a wide everyday science, nuclear physics, astronomy, and various esoteric subjects with great depth. Men's Spec Academy offers special courses on leadership and governance, strategic management, succession planning, organizational culture, personality development, conflict management, critical thinking, emotional and cultural intelligence, parent resource by leading organizations and institutions within and outside Nigeria. He is a training partner of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, faculty member of UNIZIC Business School, member of This Day newspaper editorial board, convener Office Roundtable on National Issues across diverse media platforms. Professor K was at various times Special Assistant to the Minister of Transport, Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Special Assistant to the Presidential Communications Unit, among establishments. He was also head of communication in the Federal Ministry of Education, consultant to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Director General of the International Institute of Leadership and Governance, and has headed several government reform for New York Film Festivals and the 2004 Sithengi Fashion, and holds a black belt in Shotokan Karate as well as a brown belt in Wing Chun Kung Fu. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. So, it is my
Thank you very much and good evening, everybody. Good, whatever time of the day it is where you are. For us here is late evening, coming close to night. I hope I'm audible.
varies.
Okay, so thank you very much. First, I'm glad to be in this period or in this era in our national life and globally, where informed discussion to see the kind of things you people are doing. I must observe up front that what you're doing is usually very little appreciated. Sometimes it even drags you negative mileage, but my submission on that is keep doing what you're doing. You say that at the beginning. Now, our topic for today, coalition or convenience, unpacking the motives behind the ADC realignment. I'd like to start by drawing attention to the fact that there is a difference between realignment and for joint action. So you can form coalition to deal with a particular problem. You can form a coalition. You retain your distinct identities, but you come together to join forces to achieve a particular result. You break away factions of their party that went into that coalition and then decided for it to be a merger. I want to background it from there because you recall that what we call the APC today was not a political party. As had been observed earlier, CPC, among other things, came together to join forces. Is going to be a party, then it's not really going to be a coalition. It will be either a merger of factions of other parties or the subsumption of other parties within that platform. A few things also to note about the APC initiative that threw out the PDP government. Number one, the APC succeeded in making the PDP look very, very unpopular. After that coalition was formed, they adopted a massive international demarketing strategy for the party, projected it as extremely corrupt, projected it further as unwilling to fight corruption, projected a serving president as weak, unfocused, and I think a lot more than any other president, he was the one had been consistently described as clueless, of course, before somebody took over the title from him, the immediate past president Buhari. So these are the things. And one among those coming together to form the AP, the party processes were not right. There's nothing anybody can do. And so the party also became a little careless. And on account of that, and also on account of the perception of the North that they had not been well treated, they claimed they had an agreement with President Jonathan for the man to leave after the tenure of that time, his own 4 years. But by reneging on that left, and if you also look at the result of the election he lost by about 2,000 votes, which means that despite all the energy they put into forming the APC, if those governors had not left, Jonathan very likely would still have won. Because for him to lose by 2 million votes, let's just imagine that each governor contributed 500,000 election. That's a major point to put on the table. And that's the other point for the ADC people to note is that the APC initiative in which with people at all levels, there was a consensus we need to get rid of these people. It was not an Abuja-based engagement. It was everywhere. You could see people feeling it in their pulse. They were very passionate. Now, that precises their motives, the motives behind the ADC alignment. A few things to put on the table. Number one, the individual you're talking about. In other words, what we see in the media and on national political spaces, power. Some, their motives are purely personal from their statements. Some are angry. And also public evaluation of their motives should also be considered. In the case of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, a distinguished statesman who has done a lot, he's been politically helpful to a lot of people over the years. But when you look at him and talk about motive, the general perception out there is that he's hunting for a ticket to be president. And they will refer to the fact that all the times he had changed political parties, in each instance or in every instance, it was in pursuit of the ticket. When he left the PDP, he didn't win the primaries there. When he came back, it was also for those who felt they deserved the ticket were embittered by the fact that somebody they call an itinerant or nomadic politician had come and muzzled his way and collected it as if they are foolish, as if they don't exist. Come and see Tinubu and Tambuwal, Atiku Abubakar and Tambuwal as the front runners. When Atiku then got the ticket, people like Sule Lamid, and he got the ticket and didn't take the trouble to unite the party. So if you look at it, if you look at him, the challenge there of perception is he's only looking for tickets. He has not in any instance been seen to hold his party together or Nigeria. Some people also further observe that actually the crisis in the PDP today, much of it can be traced to his involvement after his return to the party. But these are matters of perspective. For the Nigerian, for everybody on this program, the question is, what is it Atiku will bring to the table if he's to emerge president? So in his own case, the perception is that the motive is personal, political office. In the case of El-Rufai, the perception is that, okay, look, he had to bring this government into power. He expected to be part of the government. He had no doubt he was going to occupy a prominent position or at least be a minister at the very worst. His name was even forwarded for ministerial appointment, but lo and behold, he was thrown out. Not only was he thrown out, the treatment he has received so far suggests him in whatever way they can, such that he's two negative perceptions, one positive. The negative one is that he's acting out of bitterness. The other negative one is that he's looking at the North, what the North is losing, and he wants it back. That, look, this cannot be happening. This is a government we put in place. Yes, in all of this, maybe it's true, really. They treated him badly. Nobody can argue about that. But the fact also remains that it may just be because he's a genuine patriot. It may be because he has looked at the government and is not satisfied with the performance and he's saying, I regret bringing this government into place. I will have to help to remove it, even if that's the only service I can give them. Number one, he's a very intelligent person, both academically and hands-on. His O-level results is an AA all the way. Go and check his degree result. Then look at his performance in any place he has held office. So if you're talking of somebody who can render very good, if you like, management and all of at the level of assessing his ability as a person, Nasir El-Rufai will make a good president. But that's not going to happen for several reasons. I don't see what forces he'll put together that will give him the leverage to make that happen. I don't see how he's going to reawaken sufficient trust among those who have interacted with him over the years to think of entrusting anything so serious to him. And also, there's a perception, allegedly justified, I don't have data on that he's not just ethnocentric, but Fulani-centric. And that is the claim. And if you look at it, he was governor of Kaduna State. He ran a Muslim ticket. I remember one point he made, which is a good point, really, if you're a serious Muslim and you think about it. He said, look, we have won the election. Let us even prove to them that under a Muslim ticket, nobody will complain, that this country will be well, blah, blah. Now, that's an ideal thing. That's a very good thing to say. Whether that's what happened is another matter. So all of those are the pluses on his side. But how that will translate into positive mileage for the ADC, I do not know. Because all you need to do and ask yourself the amount of mutual trust you can find between them. Hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So
When
Amechi is standing on the front row. Ambassador, do you believe that?
So I didn't get that.
We
You
didn't
were
get.
muted out. Can you say that again, please?
Okay, I said that one of those who are active in this, did you get that?
I got it,
And
sir.
so, yes. Okay, so my question is, do you believe that Amechi is one of those who can be described as a hungry Nigerian today?
Well, he says he's hungry. I don't have his bank account. but he constantly says that he is hungry. So maybe someone, Mr. Green, can you help me answer that?
Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for taking us into this rally. But you're also letting the cat out of the bag. The governor, minister, and haven't served even in the states for you to say you can't be classified as maybe the 10th generation as a hungry Nigerian. So I don't really know if I can actually just because you've mentioned major stakeholders in the coalition or convenience unpacking the motive behind the ADC. I don't really know if I can actually halt you down at this moment for us to actually start diving deeply into the question and actually breaking it down. I'll ask for your permission for that. If that's okay, can I proceed with that? Prof. Prof, are you still with us? You can actually unmute your mic. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody who took out time to be here with us on a very interactive conversation where we can actually share knowledge. Your opinion is very, very important. So the comment section is actually open. You can actually send your question. You can actually just give any opinion that you feel can actually help as we build up towards the 2025, diving into the question. Thank you.
No,
Any
no, no.
further
Just a
question?
moment before we do that. Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Okay, sir. Okay, then please proceed. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can proceed,
Just
sir.
before we dive into that, one moment very quickly.
Okay.
Uh, Very quickly. The thing on the table here so that you will have a round.
Uh,
So when are we looking at shutting down so that I know how to do speed this up?
so you know what? I'm good under the gun, but I don't know what time is it in Nigeria. Green, please help with
The
that.
time here in Nigeria is 2 minutes past 9 p.m.
Okay, Green.
What time is it over there?
Right here it's about 4:02, and
AM or
no
PM?
PM. It's not up to me.
Okay.
It's up to the people there. So we're looking at where 9, 10, 11. That'll work. Uh,
I didn't get
I
that.
said even 11 should work. Just
PM,
yes.
Nigerian time. I have no problem.
Okay.
I just need to know the time frame so how to structure the thing going forward. I have what to say, but the way he was speaking, I thought he was rounding it up for
No,
us to take
no,
questions and
no.
answers.
He wanted because you're giving us
Okay.
you're giving us a lot. Like this week he
Okay,
has.
so he wants instrumental responses
Yes,
before
yes,
I go to the next thing. Okay,
exactly.
in that case, let him allow me conclude on the individuals.
Okay.
The last person I mentioned was
Are you
Amechi,
there, Green?
and the joke, a question we can all answer. He's not hungry, we know that. He's been governor, he was governor twice, he was minister of transportation. But the real question, his name, you say, oh, we have individuals who are actually about to, remove this government and give us a better Nigeria. Remember that at some point on that platform, and he spoke out vehemently against the proposal or decision of the Jonathan government to make savings. I think, was it Commonwealth Fund? I don't remember the details. He said, no, 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 give us our money. Let's do what we like with it. His tenure as governor, his tenure as Minister of Transport, he superintended a very good railway line into another country, I think Chad. Do we have that railway, that quality of railway service in Nigeria? Do you even have a... But we must look what happened under somebody's 10 opportunity. And we must also ask the question, what really is his political weight? With all due respect, how many people do you think will get his call and tremble? Oh, I have to quickly return Amechi's call. So it's one thing to have your own idea of who you are and join a coalition. It's quite an... The former Senate President David Mark, fantastic fellow. Remember that it was under him we got the law against gay marriage. And he's a former soldier with very good records. Questions. A lot happened. He was very good in the Senate. But you see, there are very simple, basic things we must... Is it possible? He has a helicopter. Would he really need it if the infrastructure, movement infrastructure in that place is the way it is? So it's one thing to complain. is another to look at the motive. In his own case, I think his motive is to help remove what he doesn't think is good. The challenge there will be optics. So look at everybody. Then you come to Peter Obi. Peter was a businessman. He came on, contested for governorship. Against all odds, he won. He did a good job of governing Anambra State. Remember, he was impeached. The first impeachment, he said, okay. He saw budgets for rebuilding government house and I think governor's office. He said, no, no, no. This thing is too expensive. He did it for less than half of the cost. They impeached him that he didn't follow due process. After all, the state assembly had approved it. Why should he? That sort of thing. He came into a state where schools had been shut down for nearly 2 years, handed over the schools, gave them the money. He didn't just say, take your school. For the Catholic schools, he numbered them, put an amount per school, and gave 6 billion in the first instance. For the other ones, 4.4. Run your schools. You're the people who will have the time and pay. Within 2 years, Anambra was getting the best WAEC, NECO, and even JAM results. And his financial management, the fact that he handed over 150 million, he had very popular following. And so, but at the end of the day, it didn't work. Not because people didn't vote for him, but because the Labour Party did not prepare to warehouse its own victory. You need people on the ground to get results. And I'll say what I've said more than 5 times on air. There is no polling booth on the internet. There's no polling booth on X. There's no leg on the ground. It's self-delusion. That's what cost him the election, or part of it. Now, since after that election, you must ask yourself, what has the not repeat itself? Labour is... Peter's profile remains credible in terms of preparing for that election. Odd looking in that company. It's difficult to conceive how, and that's the general view, how he will fit into that if in that regard. But in the APC merger, there was a near internal consensus that is Buhari were going to put in there. So those who contested against him, it was already predictable from the beginning they are going to lose. Now, who are they going to put forward in the ADC? Certainly not Atiku, but Atiku would want to be president. But imagine where Atiku, Nigeria. Now, that would sound credible. If Peter goes there to be VP to anybody, the obedience will not like that. Already Labour Party is kicking. So all of them have differently from how it's been working, and I can make it happen. And you can see that in business, I've made things happen. In Anambra State, I've made things happen. I know how to save money. I was chairman of a bank, the youngest chairman in Nigeria. I came when I became chairman, and they had bought me a Mercedes 500 limousine. Go and sell that money, that car, and put the money back into the bank. It is people's money we are keeping. We are not here to enjoy ourselves. They thought he was joking. That was the end of it. The governor's lodge in Lagos, he said, I live in Lagos. I don't need a governor's lodge. You want to grace, not governor, sorry, chairman. If you look at that profile and the record of performance, is that, can you tell me how many Nigerian politicians would like to see a man like Peter Obi become the president? Likely to say, remove your knives. This guy has to be given blood transfusion to survive. So those are the things to consider. So that's about motives and capacities of those who are involved in the project. So yeah, we can now take some reactions on this section.
Different positions they held, the both negative and positive motives behind the coalition, and how the different political actors who are engaged in the coalition, or a coalition of convenience, or a coalition to actually change Nigeria, and a team merger of APC versus what you have currently. It only goes a long way to show deep knowledge. This sir, I would like to begin by asking this question. Would you say this coalition is this strategic, or joining forces in this, as rather as we prepare for 2027, is it a coalition that is built based on genuine ideology, realignment, or
Oh, it's all right.
The back call has coming on there. I hope you can actually get
Yes, I
what he's
can.
saying.
I
Thank you
can.
very much.
Yes. Well,
Okay, thank you very much,
it
Mrs.
would
Sir.
be on Nigeria. When they ask us what we are talking about, we discover it doesn't exist. As we speak, there is no coalition. What we registered name, that is a nominal title for an entity that is yet to be born. So let's note that. Then for who they would like to replace. For some, it is convenient because they've been feeling terrible, but on their own they couldn't have been able to do anything. But all of a sudden, they can muster other voices to join them, and it will taste like that. But then here are the challenges. All the talk about coalition is good, but are they coalition? Maybe they are. Maybe they should, because why I think we need a coalition is security and hunger in the land. Most governors are carrying on as if the reports of banditry and all the other things going on as if they don't exist. We are carrying on as if anybody is enjoying the fact that somebody like me who used to fill my tank with maybe 15,000, now I have to fill it for about 65,000 and it's all gone in about 3-4 days. So the point is political opposition is very important for national because it hasn't done so well. But please tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what is it that this coalition is promising to come and somebody may say, oh, you don't have to let me have some peace. Look at all of them have been in office. Now aggregate their contributions to national development when they were in office and since they left the office, and then tell me that it promises a greater Nigeria. I have concerns in that regard. The second one is that you should ask yourselves what the age bracket of the youngest person among these people. Which of them has not held one position for a minimum of 8 years and in some cases has never left except they just chose to were moved to another establishment of government since 1999. So you're promising us a better Nigeria for a younger generation, but they're not part of your conversation. Which is not to say that the younger generation does not have its challenges. Huge, terrible challenges, limited capacity for patient engagement, the ready assumption that it's our turn, we need to take over, whereas we need to complain for capacity to perform. Those are some of the challenges. But the important question that must be asked is, besides yes, do you see anything being done to prepare for it? So, on the substantive issue you're raising, think about all these observations I've made and you have your answer.
This actually is a very, very tough. It's actually a tough
Aaron,
based on the current happenings, unfoldings, and how people react to the coalition as it continues to unfold. That, like you said, it is not yet actually a coalition because we actually use it like there's no single political party that can actually win the APC come 2027. So most people, both those who we actually seem that actually seem to be like the clean politician, which when you want to mention, you want to start with someone like Peter Obi due to the results he had, which other candidates you can't really say they had the same kind of results that he had, which make him a very, very distinctive candidate. But if you now want to now look at Rotimi Amechi, you have David Mark, who has been a Senate president, and others. You now discover that there's a huge contrast. Then when you now look at it from this perspective, or become the flag bearer of the coalition without being able to control to a certain level political structure that is actually necessary for you to run through as a candidate. Is it possible for any one of these candidates not to be able to control the structure of a political party that they might end up?
it is to agree with you that I don't see any single political party in Nigeria today that can take out the APC. So a coalition is important and useful. If they will pool resources honestly, work together as a team, each one making up for where the other one has a disadvantage of strategic engagement. Bola Tinubu became governor of Lagos State against all odds. Certificate issues came up. Of things happened, it was in the media. Still, he served from the southwest, allegedly cut some deals, met with them, and they all agreed on the Omoluabi tradition of on. But there was one state that PDP could not take, Lagos State. Who was the governor? Bola Tinubu. How did he manage? That's a question nobody is asking. Strategy. What strategy worked? Why did he have a plan B while others were busy dancing in excitement? He was more strategic than the rest. Then the controversy over local governments. Oh, yet he generated enough money to run Lagos. Yet he was patient. He wasn't screaming in the media. Capacity for endurance. So, how much of that do you see with all these people who jump up and get angry very easily in the name of being politicians? That's not all. He brought in Buhari through APC. And because of the statement about Emilio Con, everybody said he was finished politically. Then Buhari finished. Everybody said Tinubu must not become president. We were told that even the change of the color of the currency was in connection with him. So anybody who had old currency won't be able to spend. El-Rufai addressed Nigerians on the media that forces in Aso Rock didn't want Tinubu to be president. Tinubu became president. First, primaries, everybody was sure, including myself, that he will not win. He won it and got the ticket. Elections, everybody said he will not win. He won it. When I say he won, he got sworn in as president. Some of us on this platform and this conversation and I say, no, what nonsense, he lost. It was Peter Obi who won the election. We are not talking about the ideal, we are talking about the realistic. Everybody who felt cheated will be very angry. Obedience have good reasons to be very angry. Some people were not allowed to vote. That is somebody's strategy. What is your strategy to win in spite of what they did or what they are doing? How are you preparing for that? That's the issue on the table. So it's not sufficient to say, oh, somebody cheated and then came first in class. Read, because it's a teacher that will mark it such that all the marks you will make it and be the one to come first. Now, going back still on this matter of coming together to deal with him, he didn't have state power. Everything was against him. He got the ticket. Everything was obedience. Are saying very correctly that, look, we got those votes. But my question is, if you go to a game of football and you're playing and you dribble everybody in the field, but you don't score a goal, it's the person who scores a goal that got up and kicked the ball out. Did you go home with the trophy? That's the question that should prompt obedience and the that's dealing with you. Find a method also. Or get people to understand that his method is wrong and reject it. You don't go around crying in the street. You're the one who say you are going into politics. So you want to do a PhD and you're complaining, oh, they're making me write a thesis. It's part of the requirement. So on the issue, on that matter, they need to be more strategic than the man ever means possible. So the issue is not about whether yes, your point about Peter Obi is very correct. He'll make you don't need to say anything more than what we already know about him. But my point is this: strategic political engagement must move from what is desirable to what is feasible. That should win the vote to get the votes. He got the votes. It was feasible. People came out and voted. It was even realistic to expect he would be. And the Obedience and Labour Party were not prepared for that, and they got thrown into the gutter. That is something for a 7. I don't know if you missed. I think I missed
Thank
out
you.
an aspect of what you asked. I don't remember.
Question. Based on the mood, mostly you say PDP, like they say on Twitter, PDP boys, obedient, Batidiot, and the different there's tribalism. But one of the major things that most people are looking towards 2027, they most people believe that PDP and LP, that the major threats or mention of alliance actually disrupt Nigerian two-party dominance, or will it fizzle into another footnotes in political history? Thank you very much.
Nobody who is honest with himself will tell you, will give you a yes or no answer. The clear focus does what it needs to do properly and fund itself properly. Labour Party, I hope they've learned their lesson from the last election. We know the GCC mantra has its challenges. They've explained, we're not saying, we're saying we won't grab it. We know the problem of, polling agents who were not giving money for transport. In fact, it looked like the party was planning political burglary. We'll go and steal the victory, because if they had gotten the victory, all those boys out there in the field would not have been paid anything. Please, in life, if you're sending your child to school and you know the child will come back by 3 p.m., you give him a lunch pack. That is mandatory. It's absolutely necessary. If your child will bathe, you buy soap. All those things fall under mandatory and inescapable expenses. If the child now says, if you now give your child his lunch pack and then a flask keep containing ice cream, without ice cream, the child has no problem. With ice cream, is because it's an extra. But when you deny the child both lunch and ice cream, when you consider and treat mandatory expenses as discretionary expenses, you're getting it wrong. Labour and its associates and political leadership made, and I suspect are still making the mistake of treating mandatory expenses as this. You can't, for instance, you want to drink water and then you hold the cup upside down such that the water from the tap is pouring on the back of the cup. You won't have water to drink. About money, people are afraid of mentioning it once it's about the Labour Party. And so you have hypocrisy masquerading as loyalty. People need to be leveraged. You're not going to give anybody a contract or money or million, but you create activities. If I was in Labour, what would have been happening since after the election is that we'll make sure we have mini rallies from one state to the other, not just party meetings. Look, every chairman, local government chairman of our party, make sure you hold a meeting every 3 months. In that 3 months, you send him 2 million naira to hold a meeting. It is affordable. Or 5 million. You know he will embezzle part of the money. You know the word and they are going home. That's how you build solidarity. Are you bribing them? No. Seriously. You invite somebody out, his throat is parched, he has to drink. That is different from corruption, from funding irresponsibility, from encouraging party members to expect that. Have you ever seen young men and young women in a rally, how excited they are? If that is happening regularly, solidarity will come. Local governments will know each other, the youth leaders will know each other. Not when it's the election, you come, call a meeting, make a speech, give them t-shirt to wear. They'll collect your t-shirt. The next man who comes to campaign, they collect his t-shirt. There are no party members when you're operating like this. They are just crowds who turn up when you've come. And people don't take account of that. A full stadium is always filled with members of all the parties. And that's what, people need to bear in mind. But anyway, those are my observations with reference to the last issue you raised.
Thank you very much. From what you said, shots seems to have been fired and stray bullets actually hitting different camps. Yeah. The reason why I'm saying this is you already know what the mantra, most especially mentioning the Labour Party, which seems to total America and other countries one way or the other, loyalty, passion towards party activity, one way or the other is monetizing the way as to give motivation. But this actually seems to be missing. This also leads to my follow-up question: the LP factor in this whole coalition. It actually came down to in this coalition, Nigeria, in the person of Peter Obi, declared he was going to be a member of this coalition. One of the major things a lot of people thought was going to happen was, firstly, they could either determine the nature of who the flag bearer was going to be, whether it was going to come in form of a consensus agreement or it was going to be party primary. But it seems to be that different meetings were being held, but this particular part of the conversation did not ensue. Right now, if you discover on the major thing that is happening, you discover that Atiku supporters are fighting obedience, are fighting APC, and these different members of different movements or the same kind of parties, the same kind of nature that led to the formation of the APC is different from actually what is happening with the current crop of what you actually called the coalition. Why why do you think actually this is happening, and what can you actually say that can actually contribute to what we can say, what we can actually call?
Take the question. I don't know if all the questions are coming from other participants that are channeling to you. If not, I'm sure one or two other people may want to, be unmuted to ask questions. I think you can allow that. Now, concerning followers of or fans of the various candidates fighting each other, they are fighting each other on digital space. You must also ask, leaving my party to go and get into this coalition, who did I speak with before going, so that I can be said that, yeah, the party noted that and said, okay, go give us feedback. And at the lower levels, I am not aware of any conversations that took place. Everybody who was everybody and nobody. But the fact that, you see, the feeling soaked through the entire, there was greater sign of conviction. There was a greater sign of determination to stay through. Do you see that? We see the mileage. Let me go back to something that happened during the declaration of state of emergency. I come back to the issue on the table about people fighting each other. When President Tinubu announced that state of emergency in Rivers State, a lot of people didn't like it. Major, especially among them, were PDP, Labour, and all of that. And then inviting Nigerians to rise and resist this sign of autocracy and an attempt to undermine, with all due respect to those concerned. You're asking Nigerians, all of you on this platform are being asked to rise and resist the imposition of emergency rule in Rivers State. I ask you, as who? By what means? In what connection? You're hungry, you're poor, you can't feed, you are battling with fueling your car, rent and all of that. Not that these things can prevent somebody. If there's something you believe in, hunger or no hunger, you'll be pursuing it. Now, these people who are asking you to rise, when last did they talk to you? During the last election, which was 2 years ago. In any case, they have even no way of reaching you. They don't know the newspapers don't get to your village. What they're asking you to do, they're not channeling it through the party lines they have. Okay, let the state chairman, local government chairman, ward chairman, and council chief tell all of them that, look, everybody, this, what is going on, that is not happening. So Nigerians are urged to rise and resist it. And after that, everybody clapped. Wow, that was very good. That's a kind of pathetic and anemic opposition you call political opposition to APC and Tinubu is what leads to the kind of thing they are looking for. And mobilization, every Nigerian is local. All of us come from villages, never mind that we're in Abuja and all kinds of places, wearing good clothes and driving fancy cars. Ask yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, your village, not your town, what has changed there in the last 10 years that making it look dramatic? Yet in your local government, every month between 80 and sometimes 250 million goes as allocation to the local government. What's your reaction to that? None. Are you even interested? No. You have a governor. But anything that goes wrong is the federal government. If somebody's chicken jumped the fence when Jonathan was president, it is Jonathan that did it. Today, nobody is asking. It's the same thing everywhere. So I thought I should put that on the table. Now on the hostility, That was why when Abure and Papa were having all that fracas and I was on a TV program and they say, oh, isn't that a sign that Peter Obi cannot govern Nigeria if he cannot, if his attackers are attacking, if his supporters are attacking so and so? Question. Did he send them? That's number one. Number two, from his own regular behavior, does he come across as somebody who will recommend violence? Number, if there's still a documented evidence of when Chief Obafemi Awolowo went to campaign in Calabar, for close to 5 minutes, somebody should get them to stop all this noise. Let me say what I want to say. I have other things to do. These were supporters who've been looking forward to meeting him. Such supporters in excitement can do anything that their leader does not approve. But then there's the matter of getting the different matter. That's leadership. No, this must not happen. This is where we are headed. We're not 100 meters dash people. We're doing a marathon. Our behavior must also be in line with the long-term view of the Nigeria we want to create. Assuming I become president today, is this how you'll be making releases without people are fighting, not because of Nigeria, most of them. If Oga becomes president, it will be our turn to chop. And I ask all of us, are these leaders doing anything or living in such a way that if they are to come into office, what will they spend on government people? What's the quality of security around them? They have a chief security officer, a siren, a pilot car, and all. As Peter would say, live in a way that you will live, whether you're in government or not, because you can afford it. But many of them cannot afford it. They can afford it today. So that fight will be there. You cannot, or what do you call it, or followers of politicians. They tend to pick on each other. They tend to quarrel. They tend to attack each other. I find occasion to draw attention to it. So everybody, look at those who are my followers. The way they behave is the way I expect the rest of Nigerians to behave if I'm to be government. But the APC, there must be a lot going on behind the scene that we are not seeing. That's what I want to believe. The other thing I want to believe and say is that the APC needs to be given a serious run for its money because it's becoming too triumphant. Many of those who are paying attention to the fact that those that are welcoming are possible sources of mischief. They are coming, some of them, for protect. This one that's moving very far. It's not out of conviction, it's out of convenience. They are likely to be in the majority. And three things APC show indication that promises made are kept, and are most importantly, acknowledge insecurity and deal with it. I asked, for instance, why I wrote on the back of this day, it's more than a year. Rifle used to be under license in Nigeria. After some riots in the north and counters, it was banned. 236 bullets of an effective contemporary firearm. Imagine that arms license, particularly of the pump action. Look, before anybody, people will think of a banned assault rifle, raid a village for 2 hours and then go away, carrying both people and goods. It's a scandal of monumental dimensions. And then you say, oh, the army is not doing anything. How many soldiers do you have? They are spread too thin. Everything could be going right for the whole year from January. By November, there's a mistake and the place is bombed wrongly. Issues and matters of orientation that will need to be addressed on its own as an independent problem. So those are my observations.
This space is brought to you by Action Protocol. You can actually check it out. Amex Adu Morgan Elimelech Foundation, which actually supports women's rights and championing the cause for the voice to promote equal representation and advocacy for women in leadership. It's been a very, very fantastic time for all of us here, a very, very educative one, most especially for me. And I don't really know about these things. You can also try and retweet the space, share the space, still have more people coming and still have so much to actually learn from this space. The coalition, is it a coalition or convenience? What's the motives behind the ADC realignment? And a lot has been said on this space, and to a large extent, actually even possible Uh, um, do we have active voters or for this the current coalition that we're actually looking at? Is this coalition being built from the ground by the political actors who actually have different agenda, ambition, and to what extent can we actually say that all the different characters who are actually involved in this coalition are doing this because they actually want the best for Nigeria?
Some must be acting out of concern for the state of the nation. But the question we are not asking is whether acting out of concern is the same thing as being able to deal with what you're concerned about. They are dealing with a man who is far more strategic than themselves, who has shown it repeatedly when all forces were against him. Now he's the president and commander. He'll be eating amala and ewedu and watch you remove him. He has shown the capacity for achieving what he wants. So some are saying no, the way this country is going. I mean, look at the amount of money borrowed so far. They say we're going to get money from Sweden. Others are joining that he has to go, APC has to go because they think it will create space for them. So all of that, for some, it's convenience. Because look, I've lost out. I don't have any position. They hold me in this country. They think they can treat me like a small boy. I'm going to throw sand into their soup, saying, I know what to do. We need to remove them so that I and these people can do the right thing for this country. All of that is on the table. But you see, there's a difference between what you want and what you can achieve. If there's a lot of idealism surrounding what we wanted to do, but because there are bad people, they didn't allow us. Who will allow you? If angels are together, will they allow a devil to come in? If demons are together, will they allow an angel to come in? So if you're talking about this fight and you're serious about it, prepare. Just prepare. I see people take sides. Oh, number one. Number two, criticize the government if it's going wrong and add solutions. Don't just go around as a lamentational intervener. And that's the pathetic thing in my view about the opposition the PDP has been given all along. A press release complaining about one thing or the other the government did. Then they'll go and sit down again. Please, how many of their political party members elected by Nigerians on their platform opposed the state of emergency in the National Assembly? The parties are not APC states. The state assemblies have none. They were given bulletproof vehicles. They collected it, including Labour. Labour today, how many of his members have not decamped? So you have no control of those who constitute the core machinery of your party. And you're coming to the marketplace to are seeing the fire, they are not bothered. It's those people will leave their oranges and yam to run to go and put out fire in Okeke's house. That's the challenge of serious political strategizing. Its absence is really responsible for some of the things we are seeing. I can go on and on this. So we need a strong opposition. That will help the APC to also strategize in a way that it will say, no, I mustn't make that mistake. They can use it to remove us. But some think that opposition is hatred. Oh, how can you say anything bad about our government? You're an enemy. Rubbish. It's actually the duty. It's a favor when why did you look at that place? Can't you see the rest of the thing is clean? So you also find a bit of that. In fact, this mode of reaction was at its peak under Buhari. Where anything you say, the spokesperson will say, can't you see we're doing a lot? Remember the bag of rice was a 30. I said, listen, when rice is at 33,000 and it comes down to 25, that's a remarkable improvement. But let me ask you, is it true that rice was selling for between 6,000 and 7,000 when you came in? Couldn't talk. So when you do, imagine that, okay, it was mentioned and you say, yes, quite frankly, the thing was 6,000 when we came in. Ordinarily, I would say, look, we brought it down from 33 to 25. But why I'm reluctant to say that is that I know a lot of Nigerians still cannot afford it. So that is the reality on the table. He rose because of this and that, and we're struggling to reverse it. The president is not happy about it. In fact, he can even be capable of enduring. But you open your mouth, somebody tells you, what do you mean? Can't you see we have tied this number of roads, this number of roads? You're talking about expenditure. Instead of saying we tied this amount of roads, we spend this money on roads, tell us, you know the rate from communication. All of those things are absent. So I don't want us to walk away with the impression that the opposition has to know. Let them slug it out because it will be in our interest when the best emerges. If they force APC to do very well, we'll be the ones who are happy. So manage themselves better as political parties. So, two madmen fighting, will you take sides? If you see two children who are arguing, one says that no, malaria is caused by a bomb. Another one says no, malaria is caused by when somebody says waka to you. Will you take sides between two ignorant children? Or you're in a fight, two boxers are in the ring, whoever wins gets the belt, except you're on his side. So we need to save our country, not defend political parties. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Touch on a few other outstanding issues very quickly. But I
Okay.
would have loved where other participants also indicate and ask
Okay.
questions on their
Normally
own.
we do have a question and answer session.
Okay, at the end.
At the end, yes, that's
Oh, very
yes,
well
we'll
then.
have and I don't even know at what point this young man is return. We should start taking questions. Um.
Okay, so do I continue further? We then take questions.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
a few more
Absolutely.
points. All
While
right,
I
the few other points
check on Queen.
I make is that first, the motives for each person is different. For some, it's a coalition of convenience. For others, it is a political realignment for national salvation. And that is different from the kind of alliance APC that brought Betted into APC, which was a measure, among other things. At the level of security, as a level of quality of life, and at the level of perceptions of political absolutism. So that is what is pushing some of them. Some are being pushed by personal. Genuine opposition has been getting is from activists, commentators, and those who act in the public space. They are development people, they are technocrats, without prejudice to their perception of themselves and the opinions of voters. If you remember during was it the last election or the one before it? Many of the quote unquote idealistic contestants, I remember, I think Showore, Kingsley, and many others like that came together to form a coalition, which didn't happen, and for a couple of reasons. Major among those reasons is the fact that even as they were convening the meeting, I knew that none will agree to step down for the other, and that's a challenge. Then think of salvation of Nigeria in terms of what I have to do. I have this policy on how to deal with this and that. Policy, an example. You want to go to your village, your town, and give the entire town water, pipe-borne water. So you go down to the village, you meet the traditional fetch water and come back in 3 hours. That is 6 hours. It's not nice. I want to provide tap water to the entire village. Within that town hall, there are 3 men whose means of livelihood is that they use tankers to sell water in the town. They won't be among those clapping. Unknown to you, the traditional ruler receives 70,000 from each of them every Friday. Who told him that we need borehole? And you actually eventually get murdered by these interests. Our policy enthusiasts do not understand political economy of both power and leverage. But imagine that this fellow took time to find out. He asked himself, okay, I want to go and give them water. There's nothing wrong with that. But They've been drinking water all along. So let me first find out how they've been getting their water. You now discover that there are people selling, because everybody there can be going to the stream. There are very wealthy people. That's when you find out that many of them, that there are these three people. So how do I accommodate these three people and still give water? Okay, it's not everybody that buys for them. Because of bad people in all the holy books. It's not to lament about it, but to decide and determine what to do and actually do it. That's where the challenge is. So when these people come and they are perfect, so they know everything that will solve our problem. Are you on ground? Are you aware that there are conditions you have to deal with first? You don't understand it. So that's why you find that reforms fail in the environment. You're admiring the shock absorber of your car. Oh, it's very comfortable. But that's because he's driving on a very smooth road. That's why you're not shaking. Strategic engagement are even more different things. You can engage. Like the man who went to give the borehole, just started digging. The one who is strategic took time. It's still engagement of the strategic. He found out interest. Then he also discovered something else. That the young people, the young boys and girls in that girl community is going to the stream and coming back, that enables them to have a social need is housing. Who told you that? In your town, is it housing that's a problem? If your town is a wine tapping community, what will be better for you? That I go to the palm area and spend 6 hours tapping 4 palm trees, or that I have a machine that costs about 50,000, which if I attach to the palm tree, it will just lift me up and I'll cut and come down, and that if it doesn't spoil. No, I'm not doing it. I say, okay, oh, they need you come there, you say you're tarring road for a community where 23 people have bicycles and one have a motorcycle. You tar the road, if that thing is called road tarring, there's no gutter, erosion begins to chop off everywhere. Look, there are so many things involved in all of this. What is that? Look at the ground before you decide the kind of building you want to put on it. If you go to Lagos, you want to build around the Yaba area, Makoko and Co. If you don't do a raft foundation, your house will sink very quickly. Even if you do a raft, it will still be sinking, but over decades, among so many other things. But you don't do any soil test, you say, oh, I want to erect a nice. Before I go back to questions. So, yeah, that's the point about the quality of opposition is not too good. Civil society and activists are actually the ones keeping public consciousness focused on most of the things that need to be happening. The other thing is also the social media to do a lot of things. Right now we're on X space. Those who are trying to deal with the crisis, the Lekki Gate crisis, didn't know more or what was going on was on X space. So channel access to channels that actually will drive development at all levels. And that brings me to a point I'd like to emphasize and which I'd made in the past. If you ask anybody about the Lekki and NSAS protest, they will tell you, if you ask them, was that riot by Nigerian youths, they will tell you yes. And I'll tell you no. That riot was not by Nigerians. They were all well dressed. When they were brought food, they didn't fight. That's the behavior of people who are comfortable, who are on social media, who think they know Nigeria and that if you give it to them, they'll govern it well. And then, oh, see the amount we spent to feed so many people. If it was these corrupt politicians, they will have spent 10 times that. That is correct. But can you govern 1% of them are part of this conversation? Among the things eaten at the Lekki toll gate included pizza. At that time, the big pizza was about 7,000 naira for one. 7,000 naira disconnect. That mistaken assumption by the youths that they are in touch with Nigerians, that they are in touch with their colleagues, they must not overlook the fact that most people information they will project it, they will tell you how things can be better. That is different from hands-on public administration, resource management. We shouldn't go around thinking that replacement is the same thing as advancement. When Mbeki and co, very young men, were telling, they came to tell Mandela and Mbeki's father and 7 of them the plans they had made, that look, we are going to deal with these whites. We'll go and be throwing molotovs and bombs, petrol bombing through their windows for them to, and we'll burn their cars in the night. Mandela shot in the street. In the next 10 years, those who will be doing what you're doing will be people in between the age of 9 and 10, because as they grow up, they're living in a hurry. Go and prepare yourself enough to know how to handle them. 1 week after this conversation, Mandela was put in jail along with Mbeki's father, he who died there. Mbeki abroad. That very set of young people were the ones who worked behind the scene 3 to 4 years before apartheid ended. They were those involved in negotiating South Africa's independence. But we think that was it old people that voted since 2000. If I give you 10,000 to vote for me, please tell me why I should see you for the rest of the year. I've paid you for 4 years upfront at the rate of 2,005 per annum. So you brought on an evil person as your local government chairman. Really your own crime. You forget that you could have collected his money and not voted. Those are the things. So they are leaders of tomorrow. Yes. But you also see the sign they can handle tomorrow. How do their events go when they work together? I work with a lot of young people at youth organizations. What you have to deal with most 70% of the time is each of them trying to solve, and you're asking yourself, so this is the way to go? You check all the youth leaders of the last 10, 15 years, promising youth, all of them are now comfortable. They all have PA and SA. People you saw on that program, you enter the plane, you enter business class, they are sitting there, and a PA comes to give the bag. Oh, madam, oh, yes, sir. Say, yes, sir, go and read it. The very thing. So where are they today? Why is it that suddenly Nigeria did not become El Dorado? After 15 years, promising youth, they watch them for the next 5 years. You will not hear them. Yet, they are complaining about tomorrow. So, finally, I said Tinubu is a strategist, and I touched on all these other things. So if there's any other issue, even outside what I've said, once it's about the... Hello? Looks like we're having a technical problem again. I can't hear anything.
Yes, I can hear you, but
Right?
yes, yes. I just noticed that
Okay?
the
Yes.
moderators of the
Yes.
platform, something happened. They're not around, but
Has a
yeah.
hand up. Let's
Okay.
hear him.
So, colleagues, I don't have the right to bring anyone up, but we'll just have Omoluabi for now. So, Omoluabi, you can shoot pop said open fire. Go ahead, Omoluabi.
Thank you, Prof. Um, it's privilege to be in a same space as you. I've been one of your added supporters. I bring in into breaking down conversations to no ambiguity and a simple layman to understand. And that's nothing to do with emotion. But I don't want to talk
I
policy,
understand.
politics.
Mm.
I want us to talk policy. I've been in several states, and please, bros, can you help us out? What do you think um this Nelfon um policy on student loan, what do you think it is? Do you think it's a genuine thing? Do you think it's something that is worth doing? Or is something we should?
Hello.
Because I've been in space where people say that it's a non. Hello, I can
Yes,
hear you, Prof.
we
I
can
can
hear
hear
you,
you.
Yeah, the
Prof.
last thing you said is that some people are saying is nonsense and we should forget about it, something like that.
Yes, absolutely. Please, could you help us out? Is it the right thing that the government is doing, or it's not right? Just that's just what I want to ask for now. But I'm hanging in here. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? I have been having a hard time trying to. Um, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, please, can
We
you
can.
put your questions, those that have questions, because I'm having problems, and answer some of your
Yes,
questions. That would be nice. This is horrible. Okay, Mr. Jide.
they raised their hands. No, somebody asked, so
Okay,
I'm about to answer him,
okay, sir.
Omoluabi.
Go ahead.
Well, the simple answer before problems pursuing their education up to a certain level. So, in principle, is very good. Are there possible abuses? Yes, we've seen such things happen in the past. In the days we were in school during bursary, it happened. Under Obasanjo, what was this program they started to create jobs? I don't remember. It's happened where they will go. Those to administer the program will fill in most of their names. In the civil service, you also found they've got thousands of fake workers and all of that. You see, anything you put in place will be administered by human beings. Even the one like, in fact, not just to feed the children because they are hungry, but to use the layer of food to bring them so that they can learn and become educated. So it was an incentive that if you come, chances are that before you go, you learn something. So supposing you start it, oh, when they come by 9 a.m., you give everybody food. And then in the next 30 minutes, most of them have left. This thing is not just to bring the children to school, but to retain them in class for them to learn. So instead of giving the food at 9, let's move it to 1 p.m. Most of the children will stay because of that food. And then here is the person from the local government office or the governor's office who is to dispense it. He comes to the school, he meets with the principal and the PTA chairman. The budget is 3,000 per child. The man coming from government is insisting on taking 1,000, so you have 2,000 left. So between you and the PTA chairman, you share 1,000. And then for the children, it's now 1,000, but there are people you might need to touch their mouth. For policy will not administer itself. It will be human beings. So the extent of moral rectitude and integrity of the people, the policy will work. So if you've studied otherwise, you go around saying, oh, you see what we did in yourself when nobody's looking. So put structures in place and spare us the lamentation. Now, specifically on Nel Fund, it will be bad to drop it. I've seen beneficiaries. Very few, certainly, but in the absence of Nel Fund, quite frankly, probably that money will be in somebody's pocket. So if some money is coming out and is doing some good, it's falling out of the bag. Let me keep the question of transparency, fine tuning. Let it come, but please, while you're working on all of us becoming very good people, let some people benefit who need it desperately. But more importantly, let there be further enlightenment because a lot of people don't know about it, particularly in the southern parts of the country. Those will be my observations on that. Jide's hand is still up, unless Omoluebi has a follow-up.
Mr. Jide, can you bring your
Okay, so Jide. Okay,
bring
sorry.
your hands down? Um, Victoria. Okay.
Yes,
Yes, anybody? Jide had
I
his
can
hand up
also go
before,
if it's
but it's down now.
I
Good
have a
evening.
question. Okay, yes. Yeah,
Go
good
ahead.
evening, everybody on space. Good evening, Professor. Okay. I don't know. Somebody's mic is open.
I can hear you. I can hear
Okay.
you.
Let the host mute his mic and press.
Question is, um, we have been practicing this democracy and this system of government for decades now, and it doesn't really seem to be working because the for every president that come, it looks like the last leader was better, right? So I want to ask, what system of government do you think coalition? We that are in the coalition, some people want the ticket to go to one person, the other people want the ticket to go to another person, and it's a very strong stance. So a multi-diverse group, So that's my question.
Okay. There is not that kind of thing. Not all of them are in disarray. No country has greater multiracial involvement than the US. So the point to note is not what type of government, but how should human beings behave such that there will be proper and sustainable development. It's not the system of government. Democracy says government of the people. You and I decide that instead of allowing the people to vote, we snatch the ballot box. That is not democracy aborting itself. It is human beings. We decide that, okay, look, when you need something done, you get somebody who is competent to do it, and you pay him for it. We decide, no. Instead of what do you mean by competence? Where is that my sister's son? Yeah, the other one that failed WAEC. Let him come, let them give him that job. That's not democracy doing it. It is us. So the principles of democracy exist. If you don't apply them, you can't have democracy. There was a time it worked in the First Republic, it was still voting. But come around, really, let's look at some of these things in a little more detail. Why did it work before? Because people obeyed. It's not a democracy, it's a democracy. You say democracy, the most basic definition is government of the people, by the people, for the people. I agree. Is that what we have today? I'm sure most of you will say no, but I will say yes. For the people who have money and by the people who have money. So what is not defined there is, what do you mean by people? Once you define it, you see that we have a democracy. You want to contest for president from a particular party? Of it, of 500 copies will not cost you up to 6,000. It used to be 500 at that time for a packet. Now, for qualify to contest. And when they are going to contest, they may not have all, people may contribute the money to raise not because he doesn't have it, but because they want to be stakeholders. So if he gets in, he is serving the people, but only the people who helped him to get into power. Now, with this view of democracy, you see that the conversation has to change. So, government of the people with money, by the people with money, and for the people, because when they get in, they won't come to look for you and I to give a ministerial appointment or contracts. It will be those. So it's harvest time for them. In the US, you have the same thing, party funding. That's why you speak of dark money. Law in the US, they are here coming to tell us what democracy, oh, you must not pollute the process. Go just on your own, go and read up dark money, influence of dark exposure. Information, for instance, the law on public information, what's the law again? You know, you allows us to access everything. Even as an adult, are there things you don't tell children? As a parent, will you now open information? You print every month. You print your account details and send it by email or post to your children. We are not acting with the requisite maturity. There's what you call national interest information communication.
That's why in the US you cannot watch the CNN you and I are watching because the CNN there is censored. So we live here in a cocoon. You travel there, they make everything look so wonderful. Oh, man, Nigeria is not working. This, see how fast the internet is. 200 years ago, what was the US? Looted Africa, including Benin masks. We have to become a people. We have to know that the international community owes us nothing. We also need to know that it's in their interest that things are the way they are here. Because if you develop, their markets will disappear. If they need the war, they need the confusion. These are the things young people need to understand as they are running up and down talking about. The three of them are children. You say, oh, they shot him without due process, without human strategic national interest communication. It's not the same thing as telling lies. Anyway, so on the question of what method, the question is not what type of government suits us, what type of human beings. If people are responsible, a traditional ruler will govern the place very well because if you misbehave, it's your neighbor that will come out and warn you. Or it could be a collegiate leadership. We choose 15 people who will be in charge, who will judge everything. Or it could be this democracy you're talking about. The type of people, not the system. This democracy. If all of us decide to vote, after the sun has beaten you enough, so you've dropped the ballot, you go and do something else. That's the problem, not the system of government. You remember the statement of, I think it was Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, who said, of the type of the best concerning the best type of government, let fools argue about it among themselves. Because for me, the one that is best administered is the best.
She has her hands up now. Go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just a quick recommendation, Prof. Okay, if it's not going to be much, if you can mute your mics when people ask so that the feedback doesn't. One of them is, Prof. I want to follow up on what Omo Oluabi mentioned. That was the case of the NEL fund. So this is an area that the NEL. I'm more concerned about the recent tax law, which has made it, which has technically stopped the possibility of the funding for TET fund after 2030. Harada, the 4% that will be deducted from industries goes directly, all of them goes to NEL fund. This is how I understand the new tax law. So it means NEL fund, TET fund is not going to be funded anymore after 2030. Likewise, the funding that goes into NITIDA and also the funding that goes into the agency that helps with creating new products and NASENI. Okay, in terms of higher education. One can argue that this new tax law is probably the death of higher education in Nigeria. Here is my thesis. If you stop TED fund, which largely evidentially has been the best thing that's happened to the higher education system in Nigeria in the past 10 years, services that they offer. So now the option will be, oh, there is no fund. So that literally means that the universities may be left with no other option than to up their money, up their school fees that they charge students, and probably introduce tuition fees because right now in Nigeria higher education system, at the government funded institutions, we do not pay tuition fees, higher education in the country, and that would automatically and fundamentally change Nigeria in the sense that education becomes prized and you have to pay to get it, and when you pay to get it, what it means is that you would then does our economic system at that point support the whole idea that you should be able to fund higher education and recoup the money and also pay back? What would it mean for our research? What would it mean for our look at the state of our higher education institutions already? What does that really mean? So for me, education is very fundamental. It will change our psyche, how we see education. It will change even the job. It will change completely everything it or nobody thinks about it. But this is something conformational that will change the entire crowd. It will hit our foundations. Now, having that aside, I would like your thought democracy about what Nigeria is and how it thinks. Allow me to push back a bit on sometimes this conversation around America.
First question, then they should allow you
Yeah, I
ask the
was
second.
gonna, but
Okay.
Prof, I was thinking that you probably want him to, you
No,
know,
No, because
So,
I
so
thought
shoot two
to
questions.
to to,
But
to
you're gonna get a chance, Mr. Berto, for the second.
you wouldn't anticipate. My take on TED fund is that it shouldn't have been set up in the first place.
That
I want
was
that.
that shocking now.
Did you get me?
Yeah, that is shocking.
Yes. Number three, along with TED fund, NDDC and development commissions should also not have been set up at all. You see, what we are doing is creating more and more agencies, more and more overheads. We have more than 450 parastatals, all of them with chief executives, each with chief executive with an SPO like us. If they didn't exist, where will these people be? They will be somewhere doing something useful. So what's going on is that the Nigerian state is multiplying expenditure headings but delivering less and less service. So I'll take it around to the imagine I had written in the past repeatedly about NADC only for them to create more. They say, it's a development commission. I agree. At the time the current Senate president was in charge of that newly created ministry, at the point when he was taking over, I think they had abandoned projects in excess of up to 1.5 or so trillion. Many of them had been fully paid for. Nothing happened. Nobody was prosecuted. And my question remains this. After more than 30 years, beginning with Unpacking and all of that, has the Niger Delta been developed by the NDDC? The answer is no. Has basic life improved? The answer is no. Is it true that when you go to get a contract there, is usually probably 7 to 15 times the cost the same contract will be elsewhere? I gather the answer is yes. Was the overhead alone of running the Niger Delta per month? Then I think, was it here in Abuja, they came, I don't think it's up to 10 years ago, to build the, was it 80 or 100 or something billion befitting headquarters to run our tertiary institutions. So this amount should come as tax. Question. Could government the funding of tertiary university institutions by putting them as budget items? The answer is yes. You know where the money is put. So this one says, let us also draw from it. Fund can best be described as state fund should be scrapped. Development commissions should be scrapped and the money sent to the states. Development commission, the emphasis is on development. What has it done? Procurement of mosquito nets, bags of rice. So these are expenditure outlets. It started off with 100 billion. Procurement, still by the elite, by people like skills that need not to exist, populations that need not to exist. If you want to develop the Niger Delta, deal with the Northeast, deal with security. But while you're dealing with security and the people are in the camps, go and reclaim the land, deploy elsewhere so the people can then return. You're not doing that. It's an expenditure and procurement commission, not development. The same with the new one they created for the Southeast. So you can see where I'm coming from. You're talking to me about an organization I think is a clear indication of loss of focus. Look all over the world, governments are compacting. Fill half a room or quarter of a room. Inside that small thing you're holding, you have a video camera. You know how video cameras used to be. You have a record player, the LP type. You have a clock, an alarm clock. You have a stopwatch. You have the full computer with all the applications, all of them in one. Miniaturization is where the world is, and governments are doing that. I went for a program at the Leadership Institute in Arlington. That was, I don't remember, 2012 or thereabouts. We came from 43 countries, and when I was going, I was expecting, it would be one massive place that at least 3 or 4 times the size of most universities I know in Nigeria. I got to Virginia and saw the address. First, the address was on a street, so clearly there must be something wrong. Universities are not in streets; they are in outskirts and very elaborate. I got the correct number, stopped, asked at the entrance. There was some kind of janitor or building administrator. But yes, I'm looking for leadership. And says, oh, yes, that's on the 14th floor. This was a 30 something story building. I said, 14th floor? He said, yes, that's where it is. I took the elevator, got there. It was the admin area, everything digitalized. Then he had the lecture hall, which is the bigger part, and then another section which is a recording studio. Being a leadership program, sometimes I have to discussions. It was a sobering experience for me. What the place delivers is knowledge. In fact, when I came back, I reconfigured the institute and shut down sections of the office. It was unnecessary. Now, what am I leading up to with this? Miniaturization and efficiency. Just think of the money that will be saved every month if you reduce parastatals to 100. Every month alone, you will not save less than 1 to 2 trillion every month, against the background of what had been spent before. So anybody bringing that net, let me repeat again for emphasis so that I will increase your shock. Status that are really doing nothing with overlapping functions. When you summon a board meeting, what does it cost you? Just the logistics, the official logistics, and what do you give them when they are going? And then in the commissions, if it's Niger Delta, you have somebody from every part of the country just to come and collect people money that belongs to Niger Delta people. Overly are they added? If you dispense that, getting out of hand. But with federal aura around a configuration, it becomes untouchable. Meanwhile, this is money that should go to the 9 states or so in the area. So that, I think that rather radical.
Follow up on this now. Okay, but then the question is, this is my proposition that the instead of scrapping net fund and the government will keep net fund
Well,
on. So I mean, it's the same thing at the end of the day.
I agree, but here it is. If you remove all these small fillers into the place and you have the money going to schools, it will be you have a desk officer dealing with that in another step. Yes, if you have a desk officer, just like you have departments, department of net fund, whatever. So to have tech fund, because no, the infrastructure, you see, we have a very high, because you have a car escorting you when you're traveling by road, it doesn't, the extent of your vulnerability is not clear to you. Many of them are people who should have retired or who would have developed other things that will contribute to life, but they're looking for government appointment. And so the nation is not developing, but only spending and making speeches. And each year you come out, 40% execution of last year's budget, and they're writing another budget. Even where you have very good execution, you find the items on the previous year, the previous 3 years, still there. Put a desk officer, make it a unit, not even a department. Make it a
Hmm.
unit. And then
Yeah. Okay. Question, if you permit me.
No, you have
Thank you.
totally,
is
Mr. Bethel, you've totally dominated. We don't
Okay.
have back. Anybody, I want to make sure that at least people have a
have
chance. If not,
chance
okay.
exactly.
Welcome before. So, Mr. Bethel, just go ahead and take this. Take it again. This is your second
Okay.
question.
Thank you. I think. Okay. So the second part is on point. I do have a pushback with some concept or some narrative around, oh, America has done this for 200 years. Britain, the British Empire has been there for many years. But I would say how I look at it is differently. In my lifetime, I am in the millennial generation. I was here when Dubai started, and today Dubai is something else. This happened within a space of 30 years. I have seen nations who, within a space of 30 years, has changed, transformed. The same with China. And yeah, there's this argument, oh, they have been nations, they have learned governance. We have also learned governance from the Benin Empire, we have learned governance also traditionally. These things are also possible elsewhere. People have transformed. Yeah, however, the conversation goes, oh, Singapore, they had one man who was able to do this for a longer period of time, but we have 4 years and 8 years cycles. My point is, however, the conversation goes, but nations have constantly, by some Tinubu strategy, opposition, democracy, the way we are practicing it, we have evolved our own kind. But my question is, when you look at the whole terrain, okay, in Nigeria, right, and we build our democracy around where it is around individuals, people coming with their own paradigms or charisma and turning things around, is not on my question sometimes I ask, is this built on something that tomorrow is there any value? I won't say value system because it becomes a longer it becomes a more abstract conversation when you ask of value system, but is there anything on which what we are building is based on that someone can say, okay, we can even possibly assess and say, see where we are coming from and see where we are going to, because then
All right, I'll take it
okay,
from
good.
that angle. I've never been one of those to encourage the argument about America has been there for 200 years as some kind of defense of our defense for our flip-flopping. No. And when you're talking about good governance, responsible leaders who in a plot to themselves. M.I. Okpara in the southeast. If you look at the GRA in Kano, that place that's regarded as that, I think it was under a military governor, Hassan, I think. Himself and the PAMSEC did not get any allocation. When somebody sent an application in the name of the governor, it's not proper that you should have a plot of land since you already have one. Good governance and anti-corruption. Ask me. All the money that's stolen in this country, where is it taken to their country? Do they know? Yes. But they come here to lecture you on how to fight corruption. So, on the substantive matter of that what you can learn in 30 minutes is to tell us where the problem began. We were running a government, there was disorder in the country. Chance will get quarrel up to a point when they realize that their survival was more important. They need to be in office. Now, Zogu carried out a coup guided mainly by ignorance. Because even as a professional soldier, he was a disgrace, and I'll explain why, in spite of how those who admire him may feel about that comment. In the military, a junior officer does not issue instructions to the senior. He was an idealistic young man who wanted a good society, who was angry. If you look at his speech, and he said the solution was to kill all those who are governing Nigeria today. Ladies and gentlemen, he made a radio announcement, and how to govern the rest of the country was that he issued instructions that all the military commanders in the various regions should take over command of the region. That's GOCs, more or less. Now, this is a major, not a lieutenant colonel, not a colonel, and is issuing instructions to brigadiers general and on radio. That will tell you the level of immaturity and extreme idealism. It didn't go well in other places. Now, with that coup, with the people killed, Nzogu did not consult anybody. It was a personal thing. But today, his ethnic origin is used to say it was this thing. He was the one. It was because of his refusal to cooperate that the coup collapsed in Lagos. He didn't know anything about it. He prevented, and they shot him. He died. The person who aborted the coup in the north was Ikemba Ojukwu. Ojukwu said, "What nonsense! Somebody goes to an announcement and finishes by saying, Rogers, that's rubbish." He rallied the place. Nothing else happened. Now, within second intervention, which was a retaliation, they killed our people, so let's kill them back. Now, after that coup, government was in power, the military was in power for 9 years. Within those 9 years, leaders who drove away the white man to develop their country, they were all in the cooler. That was why when the ban was lifted on politics, by that time, Zeke was 75. By that time, Awo was 70. Alaji Malam Aminu Kanu, they were old men. If the coup hadn't occurred, none of them would have been still in public office. They would have retired. They would have become the first set of Nigeria's elder statesmen. By that time, it would have been the Emayo Baras, the Bola Ige, had a backlog of an unfulfilled generation. Those whose time had come, were forced to wait. Today, that the unfulfilled generations are trying to act out their time within a time within which their time had passed. You're talking about those who did in 30 years. We were doing it in less than 10 years because with the northern government, you had southeast, northeast house. Go and look at that building and think of when it was built. Southeast was exporting palm oil. Southwest was exporting cocoa. The north was groundnut and so many grains. It didn't take us 30 years. There was responsible infrastructure still in place. The roads built in the southeast, you could still drive them up till these were built in the 60s, early 60s. You could still drive them up to 1980, 1982. So there is nothing. Our economy would have been one of the best in the world. So it's not any argument about, it took them this long. We retrogressed. That's the summary of what I'm saying. In the 60s, a man from Kano won election in Enugu as the mayor, an Hausa man. He also got a second time. When he came second time, the Igbo man contesting against him said, he's not one of us. They said, what are you talking about? He's more responsible than you. You won't govern well. Go away. The man has been living. How can you say he's not one of us? Still in this country, an Igbo man won election of the same type in Lagos. So it is retrogression we are dealing with, not underdevelopment. Therefore, the reference to America is for enthusiastic people who don't know enough history to realize that they are holding up an ideal that is difficult to contextualize properly if they think about it and know what has happened. Okay, NGOs in the Northeast, normally they pay 6 months rent, renew 3 months. But with this whole Boko Haram thing and the form it was taken, there's hardly any of them who has not done a lease of 10 years. Why? Why will a foreign NGO come and pay for 10 years? I was once a guest of the Multinational Joint Task Force in N'Djamena, that's the capital of Chad, because the Joint Task Force is made up of the military of 4 countries: Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. We arrived Maiduguri to be flown to Chad for the meeting, and it was by helicopter. The helicopter was being piloted by Russians, not Nigerians, not any black man. We did not fly high. It was almost at roof level. Nobody shot at us. Then in N'Djamena, there are facilities from Eko. I don't want to mention the country, that can see, if you're outside, they will see up to the color of your watch surface, and tell you how the second hand is going. They saw when the Chibok girls were kidnapped. I don't want to say a lot of things. Then all the smuggling around the area, then the support for Boko Haram and other agencies. The issue in Zamfara, which all of us are saying is Boko Haram, it is not Boko Haram at all. Illegal mining of gold is giving millions of dollars every day, and so engagement. All of this together. So, no, nobody can excuse and say, remember in this country we had national development plans. So further retrogression, you now have regime plan. And the state component for all the states was seeds, state economic, so and so. A wonderful idea which, if it had been pursued to the end, would have been good. It was under it that all the government vehicles were sold, government houses. I was essayed to Minister of Information at the time. All the vehicles in the ministry were sold off so that you pay the money for your car, as a director or whatever, and paid for your driver, find your driver, buying car. Government will not be doing that. Drivers were all sacked, paid off their allowances for all the years, and the cars, at least what Emeka and I did in the ministry, Chief Chikel, who was my boss, he said that we should make sure that these cars are, these like junior drivers, the cars were not enough. Two people were asked to share one and all of that. Then ministers also to be given their money. That was the monetization policy. That policy was put in place. Today, all the things for which they are paid already, they still collect the money and they all still have drivers. Government is pays for their houses. That is what I mean. Retrogression. And not only that, Obasanjo left. The same PDP, Yaradua came and said it was 7 points agenda. Knew one of the points, not to talk of the 7. Now, Yaradua died less than 1 year. And that came up with just formed the party into a party that was thrown out of power. That's what I mean. So instead of national development plans, you have regime plans. And therefore, when you speak national development, you're saying, okay, let's suppose the nation is a town. If you tar this road, it will affect so and so communities. The next phase will be to tar this section. Oh no, regime plan. They deface public facilities by putting their names on it. Done by, presented by, empowerment on a bus by so and so governor. Donated by those is degeneration. Our first republic leaders will pass out in shame and embarrassment because they can't. Why would you put your name on a government vehicle? Oh, because you're on that seat, anybody can be there. Go and erase that thing, my friend. Not today. And then people are even grateful. Let me leave it at that and take another
Okay.
question.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. If you can recommend some books
No,
around this topic,
excuse
I'll
me.
be interested
Excuse
to
me,
read it.
Mr. Beto. That's it. Okay, please, that's it. Somebody else. We have two more questions and that'll be all. Mr. CBO, you have the mic, please.
All right, thank you. The speaker, there's been an echo of all things trying to talk. I don't know if it's the same. So two things I want to say. First, I have the question, and then there's a clarification to Mr. Bethel. Now, Mr. Bethel, I'll start with the clarification for Mr. Bethel. Mr. Bethel, on Nel Fund, and the whole TED Fund thing. TED Fund is not being scrapped. I can't see him on the speaker session, but if you go through the tax bill, there are 4 tax bills. If you go through it and the explanation how they are trying to reduce the amount of taxes that corporate organizations pay. Now, if you know how TED Fund was funded hitherto, it was a percentage of a small tax was paid by corporate agencies. And now they are seeking to say that these corporate agencies stop paying those things by 2030. So TED Fund, Naseni, and all those other guys are going to be funded directly from the budget and no more contributions from corporate organizations. I think that clarity must be there. I copied you in one of the videos, and I hope this serves as some sort of education about the misinformation around TED Fund being scrapped. Prof, good evening, I guess. We would love to see more of him. My question to you is, am I audible? Position and everybody talking and everybody saying, okay, the aim of 2027 is to remove the current government. Of all the policies this current government has created, I have not seen the opposition, the ADC, the Labour Party subsidy. Are you going to return the subsidy on foreign exchange? Are you going to return fuel subsidy? That is my question to the opposition, and that's why I want to know if it's the coalition or the convenience, if those policies were implemented. So I want to know, is this opposition, are they saying that they are going to return the subsidy? Is it a conversation that we should genuinely have? Is it what should form our opinion and our is that what should form our position, or is that what should form our our stance on critical national issues? Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Can you hear? Did you hear him, Prof?
Yes, 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 I can hear you, yes. Um, where the APC government got it wrong was that in removing subsidy, it was not preceded by any containment plan. All the other candidates said exactly the same thing, that they removed the subsidy. The question he asked, which is what I've had to ask on several platforms, is, so what would you have, what magic would have occurred under you? Somebody has done it, and you're expending all your energy complaining and blaming the person. What is it you're going to bring on the table that's different? So that's the thing. They would have removed it. Now, I cannot successfully speculate on what would have happened if they did or they didn't. It happens to be that somebody else had done it. Imagine that at the time Tinubu was making that announcement, there is this, there is that. For instance, I know it will cost more. Therefore, for this academic year, for the money we are getting from subsidy, we've already, because he won the election and it took about 2 months or so before he was sworn in. People carried out studies. We've confirmed that there's this X number of primary schools in the country. There's X number of secondary schools in the country. We've worked it out. Fortunately, we have the school population. So we're telling all parents of children in primary and secondary schools that in order to fund on school fees, nobody is to pay primary or secondary school fees from now until, it was one in May, from now until December. Look, if no matter how hungry you are, the fact that you're not good, it may, the fee, the details of it. Now, coming to what it is they are bringing, my honest answer is I do not know. Besides complaining about APC, besides saying, oh, this is what they did right or they didn't do right, I am not aware of any clear ideological focus in the engagement we are calling the coalition. That's why I say people are speaking of coalition, whereas there is no. The revival of the SDP you're seeing today, remember, is the party that Chief Abiola used to win election. Now it was agreed that it should be revived. I was one of those at that meeting. They had this kind of problem. It was a merger between political leaders from 2 or 3 persuasions, and we met. I wasn't a politician. I'm always invited to these things. I do campaigns and all of that, but I'm not in any of the parties. They wanted a strategic outlook on how to form a new party. So the meetings were held. They agreed and signed all the agreements in Abuja here. And so, of course, with that, it had merged into a new SDP, not the old one, and they will need party chairman and co. By the time they got back to the States, all the party chairmen said no, that the thing you signed in Abuja doesn't concern us. As far as we are concerned, we are still the party chairman. So internal wars began. Coalitions must have clear intendments and clear trajectory. I'm not seeing that yet. I'm also not seeing what it is they intend to